A lunar eclipse occurs when the moon moves into the Earth's shadow. This can occur only when the Sun, Earth, and Moon are exactly or very closely aligned with Earth between the other two. And only on the night of a full moon. The type and length of a lunar eclipse depend on the moon's proximity to either node of its orbit. A totally eclipsed moon is sometimes called a blood moon for its reddish color, which is caused by Earth completely blocking direct sunlight from reaching the moon. The only light reflected from the lunar surface has been refracted by Earth's atmosphere. This light appears reddish for the same reason that a sunset or sunrise does. The Rayleigh scattering of blue light. Unlike a solar eclipse, which can only be viewed from a relatively small area of the world, a lunar eclipse may be viewed from anywhere on the night side of Earth. A total lunar eclipse can last up to nearly 2 hours, while a total solar eclipse lasts only up to a few minutes at any given place. Because the moon's shadow is smaller. Also, unlike solar eclipses, lunar eclipses are safe to view without any eye protection or special precautions, as they are dimmer than the full moon. For the date of the next eclipse, see section Recent and Forthcoming Lunar Eclipses. Earth's shadow can be divided into two distinctive parts, the umbra and penumbra. Earth totally occludes direct solar radiation within the umbra, the central region of the shadow. However, since the Sun's diameter appears about 1/4 of Earth's in the lunar sky, the planet only partially blocks direct sunlight within the penumbra, the outer portion of the shadow. This occurs when the moon passes through Earth's penumbra. The penumbra causes a subtle dimming of the lunar surface, which is only visible to the naked eye when about 70% of the moon's diameter has immersed into Earth's penumbra. A special type of penumbral eclipse is a total penumbral lunar eclipse, during which the moon lies exclusively within Earth's penumbra. Total penumbral eclipses are rare, and when these occur, the portion of the moon closest to the umbra may appear slightly darker than the rest of the lunar disk. This occurs when only a portion of the moon enters Earth's umbra, while a total lunar eclipse occurs when the entire moon enters the planet's umbra. The moon's average orbital speed is about 1.03 kilometers per second, or a little more than its diameter per hour, so totality may last up to nearly 107 minutes. Nevertheless, the total time between the first and the last contacts of the moon's limb with Earth's shadow is much longer and could last up to 236 minutes. This occurs when the moon falls entirely within the Earth's umbra. Just prior to complete entry, the brightness of the lunar limb, the curved edge of the moon still being hit by direct sunlight, will cause the rest of the moon to appear comparatively dim. The moment the moon enters a complete eclipse, the entire surface will become more or less uniformly bright. Later, as the moon's opposite limb is struck by sunlight, the overall disk will again become obscured. This is because, as viewed from the Earth, the brightness of a lunar limb is generally greater than that of the rest of the surface due to reflections from the many surface irregularities within the limb. Sunlight striking these irregularities is always reflected back in greater quantities than that striking more central parts, and is why the edges of full moons generally appear brighter than the rest of the lunar surface. This is similar to the effect of velvet fabric over a convex curved surface, which to an observer will appear darkest at the center of the curve. It will be true of any planetary body with little or no atmosphere and an irregular cratered surface when viewed opposite the Sun. This is a total lunar eclipse during which the moon passes through the center of Earth's shadow, contacting the anti-solar point. This type of lunar eclipse is relatively rare. The relative distance of the moon from Earth at the time of an eclipse can affect the eclipse's duration. In particular, when the moon is near apogee, the farthest point from Earth in its orbit, its orbital speed is the slowest. The diameter of Earth's umbra does not decrease appreciably within the changes in the moon's orbital distance. Thus, the concurrence of a totally eclipsed moon near apogee will lengthen the duration of totality. A selene-Lion or selene-Helion, also called a horizontal eclipse, occurs where and when both the Sun and an eclipsed moon can be observed at the same time. The event can only be observed just before sunset or just after sunrise. when both bodies will appear just above opposite horizons at nearly opposite points in the sky. A Selene lion occurs during every total lunar eclipse. It is an experience of the observer, not a planetary event separate from the lunar eclipse itself. Typically, observers on Earth located on high mountain ridges undergoing false sunrise or false sunset at the same moment